Each year, 1.5 million kids in the United States will have parents that will divorce. And in a 2015 poll done by a family law organization known as Resolution, they reported that 82% of the children surveyed would rather have their parents divorce than to stay together. The reason why I wanted to do my interview project based around children of divorce and children raised by a single parent is because I think that this selective group of people have learned a very nuanced way of loving. I especially find this group to be so much more likely to be inclined to not have relationships like their parents had, and to be much more fearful about a relationship ending because of their parents. I find that parents that choose to stay together despite no longer loving each other is detrimental to their children, as they are showing that despite how unhappy, unloved, and or abused you may be in a relationship, you always need to stay together. And I don't think that's true at all. It took 16 years of my own life for my parents to finally make the decision to divorce. I remember being shocked when I found out, as my parents are extremely stubborn and incredibly indecisive people. I also thought that because my parents were able to stay together after an epic infidelity, that they would be able to stay together until their dying days. And accordingly, my parents actually did end up staying legally married to each other until my dad ultimately died of suicide in 2016. After this, I joined the 43% of children who are being raised without their fathers in the United States. With all the traumas that I have experienced in my lifetime because of my parents, I am so unsure about what it means to be loved or to love another. Daily, I find it difficult to express love to my family, my friends, and even my dog. I create insecure attachments to people I hook up with, fall in love with celebrities regularly, and find myself hurt whenever I find these people to be loving someone else. I can't confidently tell someone I love them. I don't know what love is, and I want to hear the stories of people I have a shared experience with about the way they've learned how to love. Without further ado, here's the children of infidelity, divorce, death, and single parenthood.
But if you close...
In my podcast, I chose to interview 3 people who had the experience of their parents' divorce and 1 person who had had the experience of having a single mother for her entire life.
Forever, leave the wine glass out and drink.
How old were you when your parents got divorced, and what's your understanding of why they got divorced?
I was 7 years old. So they told me when I was 7, my sister was 13, so I think she was in this weird in-between stage of, like, maturity. They basically said, it has nothing to do with you. Like, they were very clear about that, because they really wanted to protect us from, like, anything. And I had never really seen them fighting much of it. But they said, basically, sometimes people fall out of love, and that's what had happened with them, and that it wasn't good for them to be together anymore, so they were going to separate. But then later, I learned that it was more Rachel. Rob really wanted to stay together, and Rachel felt like in order to be happy, she needed to leave and be separate.
I was about 14 when my parents got divorced, or separated initially. It was like halfway through freshman year. My dad says there are many reasons, but really, there's just one. So my dad was a little bit unfaithful to my mother. Not a little bit, a lot of it. Yeah, I just came home one day from school, and my mom was like, your dad is going to stay in a hotel for a little bit. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? So for the first, like, couple months, I had no idea about, like, the cheating or anything. And then in the summer, like, my mom, like, finally, like, broke down, and she was like, I can't, like, see you, like, be on his side. Like, he did this to me, and this is why it, like, happened. So then I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's how I found out.
I was 0.5, maybe. I mean, I don't actually know, like, when exactly they got divorced. It's always been, like, basically around when you were born, but, like, we promise it wasn't because of you, has been the story I got. Yeah, it's funny because I think everything I've gotten about it has been, like, so biased. which is really hard for me to, like, figure out in my head. So trying to figure out what the truth is. The story my mom told me was basically that her parents both died in the same year, and so she was not very functional as a person. Like, she just was very, very depressed and was never really into going out, or, like, I don't think she really expressed her love to my dad very well during that time, just because she was going through such a hard time. And for a while, I know that they tried to, like, sort that out, and, like, he talked to her about it, and, like, they're trying to figure it out together. But I think that eventually, when, like, 6 months plus had passed of her just, like, being kind of a dud of a person, my dad was just kind of, it was hard for him to deal with, which is understandable. Like, both sides are understandable. It's like, how is she supposed to get out of her depression for him, but also how do you deal with that for so long? And so then the story for my mom is that it was his birthday, and she was, like, looking through his things, and she found this card from another woman, and it was a birthday card, but it was very, like, lovey-dovey. And so it's not clear to me if he was cheating, if he was, like, just kind of, like, flirting with someone, or if it was actually just friendship, because I have no idea. The way my mom talks about it, she clearly feels like she was cheated in some way. But after that, they split up shortly after. And that woman is actually my stepmom now, so clearly something was going on. I can say that.
I then asked Sky, who has had a single mother her whole life, to share a bit about her experience growing up with this certain family dynamic.
All right, so my immediate family consists of me, my mother, and my older sister, Shayna, who I'm actually not related to at all by blood, because I have a egg donor and a sperm donor. Yet, that can be a little confusing, because people are like, how is your mom then? But my mom just had, I was kind of made in a dish in, like, a lab somewhere.
Petri?
Yeah, with the eggs from another woman and the sperm of a anonymous sperm donor. And then they put it inside my mom. And she carried me, and I came out of her. Identifies as a single mother by choice. So, like, when I was born, she actually broke up with the woman that she was with. She's also a lesbian, if that wasn't... Oh, she broke up with her partner, when I was born, because she wanted to raise me, like, entirely on her own, and just have me be the product of solely her raising of me. But, yeah... So I've only ever experienced living with one parent, and not even, like, a girlfriend or, like, anything. My mom's, like, dated, like, as I've gotten older, but there's never been another, like, figure in my life that resembles a second parent.
Thus far, I found it really interesting seeing how many people in my life had experienced some sort of infidelity in their parents' relationship, and also the bold choice Sky's mom made to raise her by herself. From here, I asked my interviewees, Jacob, Nell, Carson, and Sky, about how their individual experiences have affected the way they learned how to love, in a romantic sense, in their future romantic relationships.
That's a big question. I think I've been hesitant just with romantic relationships, or, like, any kind of... Actually, I don't know about any kind of... Like, I don't have trouble, like, attaching to people, or, like, being honest with people, usually. I think part of that is, like, I was lucky enough to have... I always felt like I lived in two places, had two parents who weren't together, but they loved me and my sister super, like, well. I don't know, they were just always there for me, and, like, so I don't think it affected me in the way of, like, giving up on kind of being vulnerable with people, but I think it has been, I don't know, I think I went into high school with, like, a pessimistic, I was just a generally kind of pessimistic kid, and then, I don't know, maybe because of, who knows, like, what all these factors playing into it are, but then, I think one thing that happened was, so my parents got divorced when I was 7, but then, my mom and Claire's mom were together for, basically after that, on until we lived together, going into high school, and then end of freshman year, that actually might have been the one that more recently, like, really was like, fuck, like, what is the point? Like, I remember asking my mom one time when I was, like, this kind of sounds very like childish, but I think I was like a freshman or something. I was like, what's the point of being in like relationships, like romantic relationships in high school, like if you're not going to marry them, like if you're not going to like, what's like, if it's not going to last, like, and she was just like, well, it's practice, like, I guess, like, it's like good to know how to like love someone. Being directly honest, communicating with people has been hard for me, like, being afraid of conflict, maybe because I wasn't shown it as like, in both, I think, I don't know, actually, this doesn't really make sense, but both times I've seen adults in my life split up, I was very sheltered from, like, any, like, actual fighting.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like, I don't know, it's weird because even, like, right up until my dad left, it, like, everyone told me, like, my parents were, like, perfect for each other, like, they were, like, such a good team, like, and afterwards, everyone was like, I cannot believe this happened. Like, if your parents had done this, like, I don't even know. Like, everyone's doomed or whatever. So, like, I saw, like, such, like, pure love go to, like, such pure hate all at once. Yeah. That it, like, it really freaks me out.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, my next relationships were really weird. They, like, they were, like, I just got really afraid of getting attached to people, and once I did get attached, it made it that much harder when it ended, ultimately, for it to just die, because I was like, I knew this would happen, like, it's happened so many times before, like, and it's happened to me before, like, and I don't know, I think I've had a lot more time, harder time trusting people.
For sure,
Like, I've been dating this guy for, like, 8 months, and it's going really well, but, like, I still have that, like, insecurity in me that, like, he doesn't actually love me, and, like, he'll go, like, out and do something or something just because my dad did that to my mom, and they were married for, like, 25 years, and I was like, well, 8 months is nothing. So I always tell him, I'm like, you don't really like me, like, you're just, like, I don't know, you just, like, think I'm attractive or something, and you're just gonna move on, and he's like, are you fucking crazy? And then I feel like a bitch, because, like, I lashed out on him for, like, seemingly nothing, but it's, like, it's just ingrained in my mind, like, that lack of, like, loyalty or something that's just, like, happened so, like, powerfully in my life that just, I don't know. I don't want it to be there, but it is.
Yeah. In our conversation, Sky and I went on to discuss the fear of chasing people off when entering new relationships when we're trying to explain to our partners about our baggage. We both have this idea that we want people to get, quote-unquote, stuck with us prior to telling them the trauma that we have experienced. Both Nell and Carson agree to this fear, and with Jacob, he described it more as a point of connection between you and your partner, and an intimate way of creating a mutual understanding for one another.
I had one, like, romantic relationship that felt, like, meaningful, and, like, in that, it was interesting, because, and also I've noticed this with friendships, like, it actually felt like a thing, not to use in any way, but, like, as I was noticing myself, it kind of, well, first of all, I think it's such a long story that I have in my head, like, it's my just life, but when you start explaining it, it's like, you almost have to, like, bring out a map, like, to draw, like, for my family, like, history, and it was actually nice to feel comfortable, retelling that, and explaining all the dots, and almost making it, like, it was a cool experience, like, transferring my history, and, like, making it part of her, like, knowledge base of me, so that was sweet. And
in my interviews, I found the wisdom of those shared to resonate a lot with the love philosophies of Plato, Freud, and Sappho. With Jacob, I found that his thoughts lied in having a romantic and intellectual relationship with the same person, valuing the synthesis of rationality and emotion within your relationship. Freud's preconditions for loving were consistent for both Nell and Carson, both having experienced infidelity in their families and feeling so heightened in rivalry and jealousy, and even a tinge of rescue fantasies when entering a relationship with a beyond accepting person. Overall, all the stories that were shared were based in pain, and how love can cause terrible pain and suffering. The idea of baggage itself comes from Sappho, scarring the self and the soul with this pain.
Don't hurt me no more.
The last question I asked my interviewees was, if Merriam-Webster were to contact you today and they said that they were desperate for a definition of love and that they needed you to fill that definition, how would you respond to the question, what is love?
Okay, I'd say love is definitely like an extreme like feeling of empathy and care towards someone else, and like love means you one sec, let me think. Love means like you would just like, I don't know, you can't imagine your life like without someone, like, and you just want, you like always want the best for them, and like you feel like you'll be there for them through like anything.
Honestly, like I think like love has like infinite definitions and also like none at the same time. Like for me at least, it's like loyalty and understanding. Like if the person that you love like understands what you've been through and still wants to be with you like unconditionally, like I feel like that's what love is.
When I'm with someone and I feel the most simple type of happy.
Let me take a
Yeah, take a second.
Definitely has something to do with empathy, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of how that's the immediate thing that came into my head. It's like you're getting slightly, tangent, because it's so hard. But like a tangent is like lately I've just been very frustrated with just like that. I guess this is what it is. Like I've been frustrated with that sense of like everything in this world, whether it's beautiful or painful or whatever, like has to go through you, and you are the center of everything, because you're like, I don't know, your perspective, what you see in front of you is like your perspective, and everything filters through you because you're this, you like identify as an individual, right? And I think what maybe makes love so powerful and like nice is that it's when you can when that border can kind of be weakened or like blurred between you and someone else. There's a Moby lyric actually, like, there's a song called Where You, and it's like basically the idea is like when he kisses this girl, like which doesn't have to be the thing. It's like he can't tell where he ends and where she begins type thing. And I think that's what I look for in any like love, any kind of loving relationship, of just like you care so much about someone else that if they're hurt, you're hurt, and like if you need to communicate something with them, like they can just take it without judgment. And just, my mom was telling me about mirroring. It's like you can see someone for what they are without like imposing your own stuff on it, because it's kind of it's like you two.
Turned out to be wrong. If I could kiss you now, oh, I'd kiss you now.